I'm not sure we should leave that in the podcast. I don't know what that means, but yeah,
That means
I
they
don't know.
will eat you for lunch. No,
Okay.
I
They can have me at this point.
so
not
the problem with the interview I had with them is that the longer I go without working, the less I feel good about me. Right? So by the time I talked to them, I was garbage, and it came across. So
You had the acquired imposter syndrome.
yeah.
Yeah, the late onset.
Clearly I was an imposter since I wasn't gainfully employed.
Right. Yes. No, I hear. No. Yeah. So this could be the whole podcast, but we actually need to actually get into a podcast.
Well, a lot of this is uncastable.
It's on. Oh no. I mean, we haven't even. Yeah.
We have not yet. We have not yet begun to cast, but we could
Well, actually, he has
begin
begun to cast.
to cast.
Well, I'm recording, but also.
No, but you haven't announced it, so it ain't happening until
True.
it's announced. Well, it gets chopped off. I'm trying to see if there's anything I can draw from my last week's experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there might be something in imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean this time. I don't mean me. Where you get people who just don't have confidence in their own approach to doing things, and they're asking for help, but they have to preface the conversation by telling you how garbage they are before you can start having the conversation. You know, and
What do you think, Jeff?
I'm willing to roll with whatever. We could do imposters, non-imposters. We can do Legos.
Imposter Legos.
We could do
Apparently
imposter
Playmobil.
Legos, exactly.
Apparently
knockoffs.
Playmobil. So,
Hey, everybody. Here's this agile thing. I'm Matt Beam.
I'm Mike Markey.
And I'm Jeff Singleton.
And the topic today, if I understand it correctly, is imposter Legos and how it relates to the unfixed model. I'm not sure I have that right.
I definitely think you are talking about not fixing something.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really a
this way.
podcast host. I can't really talk, so I don't really know what I'm doing here. Like, that's an example of the imposter.
Well, let's see if yeah, I know. It's like I don't know what I'm doing, and
I don't
clearly
belong here.
whatever I'm doing is somehow less than
People
what you
get
would
dumber
expect.
as they listen to me.
Have you seen that clip? There's this clip they always show. It's like a meme thing. It's like what you just said is so stupid.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
And
Well, we
people-
hope that we're not that.
We don't think so. We've got evidence to the contrary. But that is kind of what happens with people with So let's define imposter syndrome. Maybe up front, it's the because sometimes people really are unskilled and they don't know it, or maybe they know it, and that's different, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about people who have. Jeff's not sure. We're talking about people who. This is what I think. As a starting definition, imposter syndrome is for people who have some skill or ability or capability, but feel like they don't. So the reality doesn't match up to their perception or their self. So it's an issue of self-awareness or self-concept. Would that be fair?
All right, Jeff, did you have a counter proposal for a definition?
No, I'm okay with that. I guess I had never thought of it as someone that does have skills. I thought, it could be anybody, honestly. Anybody could feel like an imposter. They may have a small set of skills. I think of it as a journey.
Yeah.
I'm on this journey and I have no idea what the end point is. Am I early in my journey? I don't know. Is 20 years doing this stuff early? I don't know. And it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
But
Okay, well, the Google says the imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being high performing in external objective ways.
okay. So it does, to Matt's point, refer
does
to
involve-
somebody that does have skills,
Yeah.
some advanced degree of skills, but not feeling like they're adequate.
That's what makes it a syndrome, as opposed to, like, if you don't have the skills, then you are just an imposter.
Oh, fair. That's
Logically
true.
speaking, I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but
I
otherwise,
actually like that. That
Yeah.
makes sense now.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. So,
Okay, I'll buy it.
yeah,
so if you have a client who has Agile syndrome,
They think
That-
they are, but they really don't.
well, have you ever had this where you're talking to somebody and they're going, oh, we do retrospectives, but they're really, you couldn't really call them, they're just terrible. We wouldn't even want to hold those up as an just and that and it just trails off, and you're feeling like, well, gee, can we talk about the retrospectives, or do I have to start by kind of pulling you up out of the hole first? Right.
yeah. I'd be curious, like separating it from their perception or their interpretation. Like, what are the facts? Like, do they have action items every sprint? Like, is there a track record of improvement, sprint over sprint?
Yeah. The first
Sort of.
question is it working? Is what you're doing
Yeah.
working?
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
Whether, even if it doesn't feel to you like that's what it's supposed to be, is it working for you? Right.
Totally.
So, I mean, that's, if you're going to take a pragmatic approach to implementing ways of working, odds are you're not going to be textbook implementations of things.
Can I just throw a yellow flag here real quick? I'm sorry to be just so disruptive, but it strikes me that we're talking about people's feelings in the context of Agile coaching. And that is a little bit, I don't want to say problematic, but like, there's this controversy around the idea of psychological safety. Like, we are Agile coaches, right? We coach you on your Agile system of delivery, the values and principles and frameworks and what you do and how you think about it. But we are not therapists. We're not here to help you bring your feelings in alignment with your true self. Like, there's a tendency for Agile coaches to sort of, I've heard this, I haven't seen a ton of it, but to sort of bleed into professional coaching or life coaching or be it like a psychological kind of service. And that is not what we're talking about here, I don't think. Is it? Did I just kill the vibe?
No, you made it thought-provoking.
Well, you did provoke something. So let's take a step back just in this sense when we're talking about just coaching. All right. Life coach, Agile coach, football coach, whatever. The concept of a coach is somebody with knowledge who can help guide their charges toward better performance. And I don't think you can totally remove the human element from that. So
I
there
would
is
agree.
Yeah.
I think there is a certain amount of people skill or people wrangling or feeling dealings, if you will,
Reelings.
that you have to contend with in any role as a coach. If you're going to put yourself out there as this, we talked about the coaching stances last week,
Yeah.
right? And there's the ones where you're dealing more with the people side of things, and those are more facilitation and setting visions and being, but it's all observational. It isn't necessarily the technical side of the agility thing.
I totally agree. I mean, human beings ultimately are feeling creatures, and people do what they really want to do. Would be what I say. Like, people will tell a story to themselves logically. A lot of times they'll make up a story afterwards, but whatever they do, what they really feel like they actually want to do, not what they tell you that they want to do. So, feelings are never too far away. I guess what struck me is, like, I guess we have to be clear about what game it is we're coaching, right? Like, the game is agility and business outcomes in probably a software context. The game is not football. It's not marriage or life counseling, right? The game is, how to get results at work in a professional setting. So anyway.
Yeah, I think trying to extract the human element is a mistake.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, agility without the humans doesn't exist.
That would just be programming because your machines are doing it, I guess.
Right, exactly. So you're not going to coach Chat GPT or anything.
You're going to give it a direct
Oh, hey,
order.
so what is that now? Are we 10 minutes without mentioning ChatGPT? Listen,
Sorry.
I have
Sorry.
something to tell you on this subject. I had an opportunity to ChatGPT something, and we can come back to it if you want. But
I want to make this a real topic because we have to get to the bottom of your feelings. Speaking of feelings, we have to get to the bottom of your feelings about AI because I think that's
perhaps
fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
So
back to
Imposter
where
syndrome.
were
Imposter
Well,
syndrome, ladies and
you
gentlemen.
know what? If you are an imposter and you're looking to appear to be more knowledgeable, you might turn to ChatGPT and say, give me some of that collective wisdom that I do not feel I possess.
Yeah, but an imposter. But so if an imposter asks ChatGPT to count from 1 to 10, and it says 1, 2, 7, 9, 3, 4, 1, the imposter won't know, right? So they'll have to you'll be revealed. That game is a very short-lived game, isn't it?
So here's the thing though. ChatGPT is reflecting back what it has heard. The sequence of numbers is, and I can verifiably prove this.
But in some cases, it hallucinates, right? It comes up with stuff that's plausible but completely untrue. And if you're not an
stitches
expert,
stuff
you might not.
together that it has heard elsewhere.
Yeah, statistically modeling the probability of words.
It's taking your words and matching. Okay, I don't know how ChatGPT works. I don't even pretend to play one on TV. But
yeah,
based on this little experiment we did, I was talking with a friend of mine, and we were trying to get ChatGPT. There's a writer's strike going on right now in Hollywood, right?
Yep, totally.
And at least part of that is sensitivity to the concept that somebody made a comment. You know, I could just ask ChatGPT to put together a script better than at least as good as what you've done. So,
yeah, sure.
my friend and I were saying, let's. What would ChatGPT do if we did say, give us an adventure module for a game? And we mentioned a game system, and we gave a couple of plot hooks and said, write an adventure for this. And it spit out a really impressive looking adventure.
A lot of words, I bet.
Background information, events that would happen. You could see the seed words you gave it peppered throughout. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so my friend did that. And then I said, oh, I wonder what it would do. I'm going to give it a different scenario. And I gave it a different game system, a different scenario, a different plot hook. And it wrote on my computer the almost verbatim exact same adventure it wrote for his, with just my keywords swapped out for where his keywords were. And my plot went in a slightly different direction after it got set up. But what that told me is it stole that from somewhere.
Or it just has
It learned it. It learned it.
It took it from someone. Someone wrote down an adventure, and it's like when it's generating AI art, it's not created art. It's stitched together pieces of other art.
Mike, I bet that sentence you spoke, the sentence you just spoke, I think you stole that from somewhere. Because the process that you use to come up with that is, I think it's pretty much identical to what ChatGPT does in terms of your neural network is. Well, there's a difference there because you have a soul. I'll grant you that. But
No, I wouldn't.
All right,
My soul has imposter syndrome.
we do not have a topic here. Yeah, I think it's it's a model. It's a rapidly evolving model, but I think it's going to be extremely. John Henry was a steel driving man, dude. And did you sing that song in elementary school, John Henry?
No.
Jeff knows what I'm talking about. John Henry. The move for John Henry was to become a machine operator, right? That would have been the path to success for John Henry. Instead, he didn't learn how to use. And I'm not aiming this at you, Mike, but
well, since I don't know John Henry and I'm just trying to put this together from context, perhaps we would do better if you started by singing the John Henry song.
Perhaps we would not be better if I started off by singing. I'll simply explain to you.
What if members of our illustrious audience do not understand the reference that you're making?
Again,
They
the sound
can
of my
look
voice.
it up. Google it.
Yeah, ask ChatGPT what John Henry was in steel driving, in the context of steel driving. No, so the song is about, there's a guy, he's on the railroad, he's the best guy there, he's the most capable worker, his job is to pound stakes into the ground, right? He's a steel driver man, right? And this steam engine comes along, and somebody says, oh, John, this thing can do 20 spikes in a minute, and you can only do one. And John is like, fuck that machine. I bet I can. And he challenges the machine to a duel, right? And he puts in a valiant effort. And at the end, I believe at the end of it, the song, basically his heart explodes and he dies. And the lesson is you can't outrun the machine. Like you're not going to be, so you're not faster than a cheetah. You can't fly better than an eagle. You're not going to swim better than a shark. You better figure out the situation and figure out where your leverage is and get on the back of that machine and use it to create the value. You're not in the steel driving business, John Henry. You're in the transportation business, right? That's not what they explained to me in third grade. But
I was just going to say, well, they didn't go that far.
I'm
When I
building a
was
million analogies in my head right now to a software development team that is not ChatGPT.
So you might not have people who like type out code in 2 years on your team. But you'll have people who understand how code works and have it automatically generate for them, and then like check it for validity and fit for purpose, and like set the main architect, translate it into value for humans, which a machine will never be able to do. Anyway, I don't know how we got here, but
Okay. So now you're suggesting that what you would end up doing is instead of banging out code yourself, you would formulate a prompt to a code generator and in plain English, and it would spit back code that does exactly what you said.
this happens right now today. It's happening. Yeah. So,
And the contention being, it'll be exactly what you said. It's not going to be necessarily what you need unless you articulate it right.
So I think where we're at is if you need to create some JavaScript that'll do some input validation on a web page. 12 months ago, it would have taken you maybe all afternoon. Now, to get the first version of it, now it takes you 10 minutes. And if you're running a business, you can't afford to not take that increase in productivity. Now, you still have to, it doesn't mean that it's perfect, and it doesn't mean you don't have to still check it, right? And maybe that's really where the engineering is. That's where the human element is. But like if you're an engineer, you can now, it took you all afternoon. Now you can do it in 10 minutes to generate the prototype with your robot, 30 minutes to validate it. Like it's a net increase in productivity like technology has done since the dawn of time. And it's hard to see it where it goes, but that's the pattern.
But that's going to be a complete shift in mindset. The engineer, the developer, the creator right now, right, turns into a validator. They're not a creator anymore. They're a reviewer, a refuter, a wrangler of a computer.
They probably still own a computer wrangler. He's a code driving man. I think they could be this is what they should be. They should be the engineering owner, right? Like however you do it, like you give me a solution that you validate, like whether that's using a robot or your wits and your wisdom, like you'll own the solution. A solution owner? I don't know.
So maybe the unspoken and very uncomfortable thing is maybe there will be no need for them. Maybe the person, the SME, the business requester can do all what they need to, and it cuts out all the middle people that were doing the designing, developing, and testing. And I know that's nobody wants to hear that, but taken to its logical extension, right?
I mean, it's tough because we can see the jobs that will go away because they're the ones we already have. We don't see the jobs that will be created. Like in 1930, there were a bunch of people who were employed by like plugging telephone jacks into the wall, right? And technology came along and automated that. And none of those, I don't think, like, they got jobs doing something else. I don't know. Maybe we just didn't see it when they...
Well, so, in taking a technology example like that, when I started writing code, compilers. The assembly language was you did all the
Just
maneuvering
gonna
yourself,
say,
right?
that was back
Then
in
we
the dark
moved into
ages.
structured fourth generation languages, and those had compilers. And in the beginning, those compilers were occasionally incorrect in what they produced. Like there was a time when we would compile code and then we'd run it and go, why didn't that work? And you'd go back and dig through the machine language and go, well, it did that wrong. It was a bug in the compiler. And so there was a time when we didn't trust the compilers.
That's interesting.
Then
Your compiler was
little-
hallucinating.
And then a little while later, computers started doing memory management for us. They were much more efficient at doing memory management. They could do it faster instead of us making sure we set and did all that. But we didn't trust it at first because there were these memory leaks that would come out of nowhere. And then it got better at that. So, you fast forward to the far future in Star Trek, you walk onto a holodeck and say, holodeck, give me a simulation of Robin Hood and his merry men having an adventure in Sherwood Forest, and boom, all of a sudden you're immersed in the situation. And that's maybe where ChatGPT is ultimately taking us when it learns enough, right? But
Yeah.
every good Star Trek episode with a holodeck has the thing malfunctioning and the safety protocols turning off and nearly killing everybody in the room. So,
Was that what happened to the Death Star?
I so hate you.
This is my role here. That's my role. Go.
And yeah,
Okay.
I think there's a
You
lesson
know
there.
what?
I don't know what it is. But
send your complaints to questions at htat.show addressed to Matt.
Yeah, right. Specifically me. I will wade through every single, both of
Yeah.
them at this point. We don't get a lot of mail.
All right.
so have we beat the imposter, or are we returning to them?
I don't think we dealt with the imposter. We have
We
yet to
didn't.
deal with the
Well,
imposter.
The imposter. Okay, so the imposter is the people who don't believe that they're doing a good job, but they are,
Right.
or they're doing an adequate job.
So these people are really suffering, and they deserve. They need somebody to help them. So let's. The reason I went down that road is to sort of understand the problem statement. The problem is you've got somebody who's capable but doesn't feel like they're capable, right? So that it's really a feelings management or a self mastery or self awareness problem, right? And that's
they
an
don't
agile
feel they're
coach's
capable.
job.
And there's I think an inherent fear of discovery in there that you will be found out to be wanting,
Yeah.
right? So we'll run into that where somebody comes in and says, I was at a client, they're like, we're sorry, we're so dysfunctional. I'm like, you're
It's, all right.
guys are
So
learning.
let me ask you this then.
yeah.
Is that they're being apologetic about their dysfunctionality? Is that really true self-awareness, or is it what you're calling some degree of imposter syndrome?
It seems
I
like
think they're afraid of. I think they're afraid that the person who they're confiding in is going to turn. It's like, well, we're agile, and that they're going to go, you're not agile, right? Or you're gonna render some opinion, making them feel less than they are. And so it's almost maybe it's a defense mechanism. It's saying, I'm going to cut myself down before you get a chance to. Like you're not going to catch me in a statement of fact that may not be factual. I'm going to tell you right up front. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think this could be either a job for an agile coach or it could be a job for a therapist, right? If it's a problem with them not understanding the thing that they're saying they don't understand, we could help with that. But if it's a problem with them like managing their feelings and they're bringing themselves into coherent, congruent self-awareness and, having to, maybe they need to work on meditation or their feelings about themselves. Like there could easily be the root cause here that an agile coach I would be uncomfortable going near. Not that we wouldn't agree and acknowledge that human feelings are part of it and you'll have to be sensitive in how you help people understand in a professional context, but they might need like the root of their imposter syndrome might lead us outside the realm of agile coaching would be my hypothesis.
So the other interesting part about that, as you're talking, Matt, and when I was thinking about what Mike was conveying, it occurred to me that, okay, so are they feeling like, are they expressing that they're an imposter, them as the individual, or they as the organization? And the difference being, to your point, defensive. Mm-hmm. I'm a scrum master that just got plopped into this organization, and oh my God, they are dysfunctional. I'm apologizing for that, as if it were my burden to change the entire organization in the 3 months that I've been here.
Or I have some sense of the distance between where we should be and where we are, and I just want you to know up front before you get the idea that I think I'm more than I am, or we are
right.
more than, yeah.
And so is that really imposter, or is that truly recognition of, hey, just to let you know, I
get it.
Yeah, I get it, exactly.
Yeah.
I know that what we're doing isn't what you're going to recommend. It's like, actually, you don't know that.
Yeah.
Because what I recommend is
it
going to be
you guys
situational and based on your organization and whether or not what you're doing is working. Because if it's working, that is not our highest constraint. Our highest constraint is the parts that aren't working. And if after we clean up some of that stuff, this starts becoming a problem, we can come back and address it. But if we change something just to change it, that just comes off as irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the imposter syndrome is really like, because I think our approach would be, look, you're at wherever you're at. My point is not to beat you up or to have, it's to say, how can you improve? You can improve from here, and what's that path look like, right? So you're, in a certain sense, beyond basic kind of awareness of the basics. It's like, it doesn't really matter where you're at. The point is to understand what you do next to get better, right? It's not to beat yourself up. It's to be like, what can we do? Mm-hmm. Would that be true? Would that be fair? So the more that they rotate on how bad they are, that's just, there's no value in that, I guess, from our point of view.
Well, especially if our goal is not to be judgy.
Right. There's no utility in that. The point is, what can we do? Yeah. So unless it's a barrier.
Don't put that on me. I'm not judging you.
Exactly.
But when organizations bring in a coach, there is an expectation.
Somebody has an expectation.
Somebody has an expectation that you're going to do something and you're going to judge, assess, you could call it assess, is going to assess how are we, and we know we're not there yet. Of course, as coaches, we acknowledge, yeah, you're not there yet, but you're on a journey. But if there is an expectation that we're going to bring in these coaches and in 3 months, voila, we're going to be agile.
We're gonna be smacked with the agile stick.
And it sets an expectation, and so then anybody, the Scrum Master that just joined and recognizes, they're early in their journey, but they know what they learned, and this is not anything that they learned. So they recognize dysfunction, and they're trying to, I don't know, I'll even call it preemptively, pull you aside and say, look, I know what we're doing here sucks. Yeah. I just want you to know I'm not in that camp. I don't know. It's that defensive
I'm
thing.
I'm not professing what we're doing is good or the right way, and we just want you to be aware of that. And it could just be you get introduced to a handful of people and they all share that moment with you. It's like, hey, it's nice to meet you. I don't know what we're doing either. It's like, okay, good, cool. Let's figure it out together.
So in a sense, that's the beginning of wisdom, isn't it? Because the first step is always acknowledging that there's a problem. You can't, the full cup, you can't put anything more into the full cup. You have to empty
That's a
part of
good
it.
point. That is an excellent point. They're offering an invitation to help them.
Yeah. There you go. That's the
so-
way to think about it. That's fantastic. Okay.
So all you folks at home, don't feel bad. You're doing the best you can, and we will help you get to that better place that you would like to be, and we'll get there together. But it's okay. We're not coming down on you.
This sure feels like a wrap up, what Mike's doing right now. 39 minutes in. I think that pretty much drains it, does it not?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I think this has been, God, how do you, Mike, help me out
Here's
here.
this agile thing.
Yeah, that's the beginning. Anyway, I'm Matt Beam.
I'm Mike Markey.
And I'm Jeff Singleton.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
We will see you.
Ciao.
I think what we'll do going forward is like of these topics that we've got on the Trello board, I think I'll reach out to people on LinkedIn and be like, or just post something and be like, hey, are you an expert in X? Come talk to us and explain it come be a guest on this podcast. And that sort of solves this problem.